Martin Babinec is running for Congress. Big story in today's Observer-Dispatch, front page above the fold. And it's all about the polling. Each of the candidates has polling numbers that are out. And with caution, look at these numbers because some of the experts were asked about it. And anytime a poll is attached, the polling actually is attached to a candidate, you have to look at it carefully, right? Because it very well could be questions could be thrown out to kind of get the result you're looking for.
How you ask a question.
Yeah. And maybe that hasn't happened, but independent polls are always... it removes that possibility, right? Helps you with credibility. But on the line, Martin Babinec here this morning, who is making a charge of his own when it comes to Claudia Tenney, who is allowed under her allotment to send out direct mail pieces with the assembly. And there's a limit. She was able to come in on her last piece, which I saw, as a matter of fact, that came out just at the deadline. But when I saw it, I really wondered, is this something about the assembly or is this more of an issue that's a congressional issue? And it did seem congressional to me. And Martin Babinec, good morning. Thanks for coming on.
Morning, Bill. Thanks for having me.
Is that one of your claims that she's used that in a way that is inappropriate, that allotment of those direct mail pieces?
Well, Bill, I think when you look at the law that says people in the state legislature should not be sending out mailers within 60 days of a general election. And I think this was received by some voters something like 61 or 62 days ahead. So, the fact that a piece of mail was sent out right within that timeline is within the letter of the law.
Yeah.
But what causes me to raise a question is when you really look at the content of it. When I first saw it, I thought for sure this is a piece of campaign mail. Not only does it involve really a federal issue, it's not something that was within the purview of the state assembly. But I just asked the question, what's the benefit that the voters are getting from receiving this? And so,
well, aren't the and I'm not sure what the ruling states. But most times when you get these, it's really to update you and to update your constituency about the things that you're working on, the things that you've done, what you've accomplished, just to really update the people who you are working for. This one really did seem to be something that was more of a campaign piece. Cuomo was on the front, but on the back it was all about health care, which is certainly an issue that's going to come up for the next congressperson.
Yes, it was specifically the federal exchanges. So, again, it's a federal issue. I just raised the question of, how are the voters benefiting from this? It certainly doesn't seem to be consistent with the intent of how people in the legislature are provided these privileges, which should be used to inform voters. I didn't see the connection there.
All right. And you're basically saying that people should just take another look.
Yeah, we have a copy of it on our website if anybody would actually like to look at the language, and they can draw their own conclusion.
Yeah. As I said, we talked about it earlier in the week, and I drew mine. I felt it looked like a political campaign piece and not something coming out of the assembly. Everybody uses them. They're using them very, very carefully. But usually, this one's unique because Assemblywoman Tenney is running for a federal office. And when you have Cuomo on the front side, all right, she's within the state, her attack. She's attacked Cuomo, and she has done so in the assembly since she's been there. But on the flip side of it, it's the health care issue, which is really more of a, I believe, more of a federal issue.
Well, overall, it is more of a federal issue. But again, she's in here. I'm reading the language here. Since today it was signed into law, Governor Cuomo's health exchange has proven a disaster for working families. They're allowed to do this.
What's the headline read?
Keep government out of our health care.
That's that is a federal headline. And by the way, most people look at the headline, and walk away. I think it was clever use of state money for her federal campaign. Come on. It's obvious. Okay, I want to ask.
Well,
I understand, and we'll save the debate. I've got Martin on. I want to ask Martin about the story in the Observer-Dispatch today. I don't know if you've seen it, on polling, and basically saying, and I would agree with this, that when the poll comes from the campaign, beware, take it with a grain of salt.
Well, it's true that whoever puts a poll out is the one that's determining what questions are asked. and depending on who the pollster is, some are going to have greater reputations than others. But the fact remains, until this date, there are no independent polls. So when people are curious about what's going on within a race, candidate-sponsored polls are at least one point of information for voters to get a handle on things.
We have there are 3 polls out, and each campaign has done a poll and put out the numbers. And sometimes you can put out the numbers you want to put out. I mean, well, always. If it's something that isn't good, you might not release it. But a poll dated September the 2nd was done by Public Opinion Strategies, a Republican polling firm based in Virginia, on behalf of Tenney's campaign. And it has Tenney leading the race at 33%, Myers at 27%, and you, Martin Babinec, at 23%. A poll that the Democrats put out has you at 21%, and then Myers and Tenney tied at the top at 35%. And your poll is saying what?
Well, my poll says that Tenney is about 36%, Myers 17.9%, and I'm at 20.2%. And really, remember that there's an undecided column in this as well, which ranges across these 3 polls between 21 and 25.8%. So that's not an insignificant number. I think the overall conclusion, Bill, is that these numbers are not far apart. And this is going to be a competitive race.
Yeah.
Ours are the only poll numbers that have been released with any kind of trend line, since we actually did polls back in June and July. And over the course of this period, I'm the only candidate that has actually seen a trend upwards. Because, you would expect that career politicians that have been around as long as Claudia Tenney and Kim Myers, they've had a lot of opportunity to build some name recognition, which, as you're aware, is very important for anyone that is running for office.
I do want to say that you're a third-party candidate, and each of the polls has you basically in the teens. In the
20s, Bill.
That in itself is pretty astonishing.
Yes, this is unprecedented. I came in not only with no name recognition whatsoever, but with no party organization. And we've had to build everything in this campaign from the ground up. And when I'm out there speaking with people, there's, without a doubt, there's receptivity to the message of being an independent candidate, especially in this election cycle with all that's going on.
All right. Interesting. And again, you can go to Martin's website and decide for yourself on the Claudia Tenney mailer. Martin Babinec, thanks for coming on this morning.
All right. Thanks, Bill.